Hello everyone, welcome to photo editing course. This is me Nipun Chandra and I am your educator for this course and we are going to enjoy it a lot. We are going to talk everything about photo editing, mainly in Photoshop. I hope you love the magical world of Photoshop. It's a really intuitive and quite addictive program, but I don't mean it's bad. It's not like the games which we play, but it's a very productive game. So you'll love it, I guess. Today we are going to talk about the tools in Photoshop, and this lesson is divided into two parts. Part 1 we are going to discuss about 10 to 15 tools, and part 2 another 10 to 15 tools. Now let's gain some knowledge about myself. I am Nipun Chandra. I have loads of interest and experience in Photoshop and Lightroom. I also do some illustrator stuff, but I am not that interested in that field. Maybe we can talk about that in another day. And in this course, we are mainly going to talk about Photoshop. Stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to SPN Space so that you won't miss any content that I upload and you are the first person to view it. Now, the objectives of today's lesson: a brief introduction to all the uses of Photoshop, a complete picture about the tools in Photoshop, and a small activity so that you can practice what you learned today. Now let's understand the uses of Photoshop. Photoshop is mainly used for two purposes. One is photo editing and one is graphic design. Photo editing is what we learn in this course. It is used by both professionals and hobbyists. Photo editing is nothing but making a photo look better by adding some minor or major adjustments. We'll mainly do minor adjustments, but when we have to edit raw images, we have to make major adjustments to it. As raw mainly takes it as a whole, so we have to remove parts of it and add parts to it so that it looks proper. Now, graphic design is nothing but, have you ever wondered how these logos and all that are created? That is nothing but graphic design. It's mainly done in Illustrator and InDesign. Now, Photoshop is used for digital art. Digital art is a part of graphic design. Now, digital art is nothing but traditional art in a digitized way. It is done by using brushes, colors, and all that stuff. We don't need to know about that and worry about that much, as we are not going to learn about that. So, now let's enter the magical world of Photoshop for the first time. This is a new document file. Now we have to select the file that we need. For example, a photo file, print file, an art and illustration file. I'm currently using CC 2019. You can also use the 2020 version or the 2021 version. You can also have something as old as CS6. Mainly the features are almost the same, but in some places you may not get the option to follow me, as some features have changed in a while. So we'll take a simple A4 document. We'll put the unit of measurement as pixels. We'll take a landscape one, and as this is going to be only on a display, so we are going to keep it as 72 ppi. That's standard. And now RGB color, let it be as it is. Let's not worry about all this, and let's click create. And here is the other screen of Photoshop. Now let's open an image so that I can show you the tools and all that. So the first tool in the Photoshop toolbar, it's on your left side. Now let's check if we both have, or we all have, the same workspace. Go to Window, Workspace, and then you have to choose Essentials, as I use it mainly. So I'll just reset it so that you can follow me from the start. Now this is the basic Essentials workspace. What I do is, as you're going to learn with me, you don't need to learn with Adobe here. So just pull it out and close it. The other thing you want to do is, I use it as an expanded toolbar, not a shrinked one. So you can just click these double arrows to expand it. I also keep the history and properties panel here. We are just going to shrink that, and we have the color and swatches and libraries and adjustments here. Now the first tool in Photoshop is the move tool. The move tool, as the name suggests, is used for moving things around. Now let's convert this to normal layer first. So you can move this around as much as you want. Just keep it back. Now the second tool, when we click and hold on the first tool, now wherever there's a small triangle on the bottom right corner of a tool, you know that when you click and hold, you'll get more options to more tools. So this is the Artboard tool. Artboard is nothing but a simple canvas type of thing. You can just create one by clicking and dragging. You can also edit the size here. We don't want another artboard as we already have one. So we'll just delete that. Now we'll keep it here. Yeah. So the second tool is done. Now the third tool. The third tool is a rectangular marquee tool. Now we make selections for various reasons. For example, you need to fill something with some particular color. Now I take a selection of this and then press Command Delete or Control Backspace on a Windows PC. You fill that with the background color. And when you need to fill that with the foreground color, you press Option Delete or Alt Backspace on a Windows PC. That's filled with the foreground color. You can always change the foreground and background colors by just double clicking on the color swatch and then picking some color from here and just changing the shade and all that from here. You can adjust the color which you want. Let's pick something like a maroon one. So you can change that here. It has already changed. And then we can pick the background color. Let's pick gray. Okay. Now we can, when you want to put it to defaults, just press D. Now it has come to default. When you need to swap background and foreground colors, that is mainly used when you need to mask out certain things. You can just press X. Okay. Now this is a rectangular marquee tool. Now you can just make selections with it rectangular. We can make rectangular selections with it. Fine. You won't use it much, but it's just there for your convenience. Now this is the elliptical marquee tool, nothing but it makes oval and circular selections. You can make oval selections by just clicking and dragging in the direction you want it to go, or you can press Shift to make a circular one. You can just make a circular one. Press what you do. You can do many things with the selection, not only filling it with colors, but you can also do something like, okay, let me show you a trick then. I'll just delete this and make an artboard of the size of this picture. Okay. Now we can just choose this. Choose whichever part you want to choose. Maybe this, it looks quite good. And just here, you can press the mask button. Now you get something like this. What this means is black hides and white reveals. In this particular picture, let me disable this mask first. In this particular picture, now this is everything is white here. Fine. There's nothing missing or nothing is taken out from it. Now, when I enable this mask, what happens is the black part of it is not shown on the artboard. The white part of it is shown. See, the remaining picture is not shown here. It's quite a good trick to make some some card designs or something like that. Now let's not go into all that. I'll just delete that layer mask. Fine. Now there's a single row marquee tool, which is nothing but a single pixel is selected as a row here, and the next tool is nothing but single column marquee tool. It selects a column like a vertical bar of pixels. Now the next one is the lasso tool. The lasso tool is a freehand selection tool. However you go with your hand, it makes a selection, and you can drop it to make a selection. The next one is a polygonal lasso tool. This is not exactly freehand, but you can make like straight edge selections like this. Not exactly a perfect rectangle or something like that, but you can make a polygon. As you know, polygons are shapes, so you can make something like this to make a selection. That's it. That's the polygonal lasso tool. Now the magnetic lasso tool. There is something called edges and colors in photos, right? So if we go here and we see this edge, it just follows the edge that you go. It knows where the edge is. It's just artificial intelligence of Photoshop that knows where the edge lies, and it makes out a selection of it. This is quite handy sometimes, but if you mess up with it, you can mess your selections as well. So I would prefer the pen tool over it. We will learn about it in later lessons. Now the next tool is magic wand tool. As I told, colors are a part of a photo, and if I want to target a certain color like this shade of blue, just click on it to make a selection of that shade of blue, only that shade of blue. Now you can adjust the number of shades that you want to select in the tolerance panel on the top of the Photoshop thingy. Here you can just increase the tolerance to about 47, or you can just go up to 255. Okay, that is nothing but it makes a selection almost of every part of the photos, and not that useful. You can just put it as 30, and now it makes the selection of most of the blue of the picture. So this is mostly useful when the colors are contrasting, like here, see this orange and this kind of some pale color. So you can just make a selection of this. That is the use of the magic wand tool. Next comes the quick selection tool. The quick selection tool also, it identifies edges, and it's a quick way to make selections, as the name suggests. You can just drag over a certain area, and it recognizes the edges and adjusts itself accordingly. And you can just do this, this, and this, and just make a selection of the sky. Quite a handy tool, right? Now, there are certain things here that you need to identify and remember. This is the standard tool. This is the standard quick selection tool. And when you stop at a certain place and you feel like I need to add over that particular selection, you can just click on this add to selection button and just add to it. You can also subtract at some places. For example, I don't want it to select this part of the tree. Okay, it doesn't select it. It just subtracts it. This is for every selection tool and some other tools of Photoshop here. So just keep that in mind. Now the next tool. This is a simple one, and you do it in basically your mobile phone as well. You can just crop your photos to whatever ratio and whatever you don't want and whatever you want. Okay. And the rest all tools here, they're not that useful, and then let's not waste our time there. Okay. And these as well, you don't need to learn about them now. I'll just teach those all in another lesson. This is another handy tool. This is called the Eyedropper tool. Now you can make us you can drop at a certain place like this to take that color. It's not always possible to match the color here and just look at it and match it from here. We don't have such perfect eyes to do that every time. So you can just click on a particular area to take that color. Now when you're doing photo editing, you need to keep colors in mind, as you need to kind of make them match and you should not go to another place. Sorry for this, I don't know why is it coming now. Yeah. Now there are other tools here. I won't explain all of them, maybe only the ruler tool. The ruler tool is used for making measurements on the picture and on the artboard. You can I'll just cancel that. Okay. Now here comes the healing tools. Now there are numerous healing tools here. Healing tools are basically used for removing certain parts of a photo. Now this is a spot healing brush. It takes samples of other other places in the photo and makes this and just replaces this with another part of the photo. See, the cloud has gone and you can just paint over it and the cloud has gone. Amazing, right? You can just make selections like this and you can just take it away. There are certain options here. There's normal, there's replace, there's multiply. We'll learn about these all those blending modes in other lesson. This is content aware, as what I told. It it gets to know the things around it and matches it with the correct one. There's a one called create texture. We don't use it much. It makes some stupid kind of thing. I don't like it at all. And this proximity match. This is also another thing which you won't use much. It's just there and I guess you shouldn't use it that much. Okay. The spot healing brush, and this is the other advanced version of the same spot healing brush. Always computers are not right, as you know. Computers are right but not Photoshop, as you know. So you can just take samples by pressing Alt or Option and then patch over it. Just click and drag. Okay, that is the healing brush. Next comes the patch tool. In the patch tool, you basically make a selection of a certain area like this and take this over and put it on other one, then other part of the same image, drop it over that and it analyzes and adjusts the other part to this part and makes it disappear. Or the other thing is, now what you saw I did is make a selection, keep it here and it vanishes. Okay, there's another thing called source. Now this is destination, what I did just now. This is also quite handy, as you cannot analyze the size of what you want to replace all the time, so you can just put it somewhere here to do the same. But here you select the thing which you want to be replaced. In the other thing, you select the part of the image which you want to replace the other part with. Okay. And then there's content aware move tool. We'll talk about these two tools in the other lesson. Okay. Now the brush tool. This is very important. The brush tool has variety of things you can do with it. You can either paint over something, or the more important one. Now let's make a quick adjustment to this image. This is your first adjustment you have ever made in Photoshop. You just click on curves. This curves is quite complex. I'll just explain it in short now. So the top is the highlights, the most brightest area of the image, this top one, and this as well. Okay. And this is the darkest part of the image. So if you want to target the highlights of the image, nothing but the bright areas of the image, you go somewhere here, okay, and you can increase the highlights. Increase the brightness of the highlights by taking it up, or decrease it by taking it down. Okay, let's reset it. Now if you want to target the shadows and make them more darker, you can just make them more darker here and make this more brightened so that you can add some contrast to the image. Now this is too much, so what I can do is, this is a mask as you have seen. So this is completely white, which means, as you have learned, black hides and white reveals. So everything of the adjustment here is visible on the picture. Now if I take the brush tool, paint with black over a certain part of the image, the effect of the curves, like the adjustment layer that we have created, will be like partly decreased or completely taken away from that part. Now here you can see opacity, flow and smoothing. Mainly we are going to talk about opacity and flow. Opacity is nothing but the amount of the below layer or the amount you want to paint over it, and the flow is like now let's create a new layer, and the flow is less now, so you don't get pitch black. And if I increase the flow to about 100%, then this is the wrong color, so just make it to default. And if I paint with 100% flow, see, it's pitch black. Now if I paint with 50% flow, you can see it takes me some time to paint. See here, it's not pitch black. Okay, let's decrease the flow even more to about 10%. See, now it's not completely black. Now if I paint over it several times, then it becomes black. That is the use of flow. When you need more control over it, then you increase or decrease or manipulate the flow. Now what we are going to do here is take the curves adjustment layer, decrease the flow to about 10%, increase the brush size by pressing Ctrl, Option, and then right clicking, and then dragging to the right to make it bigger, dragging to the left to make it smaller, the brush, and dragging to the top to make it softer, and dragging to the down to make it harder. Now hard and soft, I'll explain that as well. I'll decrease this, I'll increase the hardness completely and increase the flow as well. See, now it's completely hard. The edges are completely hard. Now let's make it 0%. See, the edges are not hard. This is the use of it. So if you decrease the hardness, what happens is you don't need to be precise every time. You can just paint over it like this and assume that it happens. Okay, here, see, this is too small, and yeah. Now you can assume that it has happened. If it is hard, you'll have to be very precise with your movements. Okay, see, it's not perfect. So you mainly use a soft brush for all these adjustments. Hard brushes are used when you do digital art on this Photoshop. So what you can do now is delete the layer which we created. You don't need to create it actually. So you can just decrease the flow to about 10% and take the black brush and remove the adjustment by quite a bit, because I don't want it to be so bright in that particular area. So I can just decrease the hardness, just paint over it with black. You can see the effect is going away. Now when I want to add it in certain places, I'll just add it here. And you can see it has added it over it. So white reveals and black hides. That is the main concept. Fine. Now just delete that. Now I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please comment down below if you want me to make some changes to the way I teach or something like that. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.